right, guys and gals. So we are welcomed here today with Jonathan Moss. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us. We are continuing our series, our monthly series on AI practices relating to go-to-market. I think it was a few months ago we had a call, and I think the overwhelming request was we want to get out of the philosophical side of AI and the academic side and really start digging in and seeing what folks are really doing in their environments and kind of share some knowledge here. So I reached out to Jonathan, and I will share, if you're not following Jonathan on LinkedIn, please do so, because he's got some great content out there. But Jonathan comes with 20 years of sales, go-to-market, revenue leader experience. But what I find really interesting, not that that isn't interesting, but you have a deep focus in AI over the last 5 years, which is, I think, from my perspective anyways, ahead of where a lot of folks have been. So I'm really excited for you to join. And I'll pass it over to you to share with what cutting edge tips and tricks and techniques you're going to share with us today.
Yeah. Well, thanks. First of all, thanks for the invite. It's a pleasure, and I love talking about this because I am super excited about what it can do and how it can help. And yeah, so hopefully you get a lot of takeaways. I'm going to show you a lot of ways that that I'm using it. I will kind of keep it a little bit surface level. Well, in my opinion, it's surface level, but we'll see how it goes. But I'm happy to also dive deeper into anything as a follow-up or while we're on the call. But ultimately, I want to make sure that I can show you a lot of different ways that I'm using it today and things that you can do too. So cool. So I'm going to share my screen. And by the way, feel free to ask questions or give emotional outbursts or any of those things that you need to do as well. Can you see my screen okay?
We can, and I'll keep an eye on chat as well.
Okay, perfect. And I'm gonna pull it up here, and I'll let you keep an eye on it, and you just tell me if there's anything there.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I want to tell you a little bit about me. I don't want to spend a lot of time on me, but just to kind of so you know a little bit about who I am and kind of what I've done and why go to market and AI are both kind of in my in my wheelhouse. So a little bit about my journey. So I started with some larger public companies, but I've been in go-to-market my entire career. So I've led teams all the way from sales, ops, enablement, rev ops, marketing, customer success, et cetera. So I've kind of been through the whole gamut. And what you'll notice is I also have a little different, as far as at the very beginning, it was a higher revenue. Towards the end, it's been kind of a growth stage, as well as some that I've got off the ground from zero to now. So I've kind of seen it all a little bit. And from the AI perspective, I wanted to share a little bit about some of the things that I'm doing now and at the companies that I've been at. And done in the past. And this has kind of all led to, what are some of the use cases I'm showing you, et cetera, and why I'm excited about, ChatGPT. Google just announced that their Gemini is coming out on Bard. And so there's a lot of different things that are happening that's giving us access to be able to do a lot of these things. So first off, Big Spring is the company I'm at now, and we're focused in AI from a personalization of enablement, being able to predict outcomes of revenue, how you can tie your enablement, learning, skills, and training into actual revenue or other business outcomes, how you can personalize practice, build learning plans using AI, as well as have a user like myself be able to go on and generate AI-driven learning plans and skill capabilities that maybe I'm interested in or that will help me in my career. In my past, I've done a couple of different things like OYO was dynamic pricing and RevPAR generation. So in the hospitality world, that's revenue per available room. So really around how to build models around understanding these things. Metaverse, I sit on the board of. It's a web-based 3D software. So we're using AI to help generate 3D models and scenes inside of the 3D space, as well as conversational AI. So being able to interact with an avatar, things like that. So I've seen some different ways of leveraging AI from a product perspective. But what I always struggled with was, this is great. We're infusing AI in products, but how are we not infusing it internally to help us be able to, go to market better, think about strategy better, do processes better, all those types of things. And so that's where I see these kind of two things merging, and I'm super excited about it. So 2 more slides, and then I'll get into the meat of it. But I think it's important to think, like, when you think about AI, if you're not using it today, or if you're thinking about, like, how do I get started? How do I do it? There's 10 questions that I ask, but these are the 3 easiest ones, and I'm happy to share the 10. But it's really about, like, what problem are you trying to solve? And when you think about the problem you're trying to solve, is it one that you constantly are spending a lot of time on? One that is process oriented. So it's very like, when this happens, and I need this to happen. So it's very linear. But really just like, what is the pain point and what are you spending a lot of time on? What is the current state of that data for that problem? Because ultimately, if you have garbage data, you're going to get garbage results from AI. It's not even going to really benefit you. It actually could steer you the wrong way. So having data integrity and governance is super important. So that has to go into the very the next step of, like, what problem I'm solving. Do we have the data, and is it in a place to where I can actually leverage it? And then what is the desired outcome that I'm trying to achieve? And that will help you be able to figure out, like, what is it that how do you want to leverage AI, et cetera. So really just these three simple things. Again, I can get more granular later on, or another time, but ultimately this will get you going. So the things that I'm going to share with you today are, one, how you can use it to become like your strategy consultant. I think about AI as like a digital team for me. It's additional people that I don't have to hire. I can train, and they can help benefit me, from all kinds of different places. So one is strategy. So I'm going to take you through a few things from that perspective. Another one is data analyst. So having like your own personal data analyst for the things that you do. And the one thing here you got to be careful with, obviously, if you have, I'm going to show you like just randomized data, but ultimately, if you're going to use your company data, you'll want to make sure that you have that governance, et cetera. You don't just throw things into ChatGPT, but ultimately it can do a lot of different things for you there. And then a practice buddy. So I really like this one, especially for more of a sales use case, or really customer success use case, et cetera, where you can design and set up scenarios and practice with it. And it actually, now that it's got voice, it'll actually practice back with you. And I'm going to show a video of that. And so I have some things that are preloaded here, so I don't spend time doing things live. But I'm gonna walk you through kind of each one of these, and if there's other things that you may want to see, I'm happy to share. But that's the end of the presentation. So I'll jump into a few different things for you. So the first thing I'm going to jump into is a go-to-market strategy. So I'm going to show you the difference between leveraging ChatGPT 3.5 in case you don't have the paid version, and the difference between the 4 if you do have the paid version, because you'll get some additional sources and things like that. So the first thing to note is it's all about your prompts. And I know you probably know that and have seen that, but the detail of the prompt is the most important thing. The more that you give it, the better the results will be. So you can I could just put, hey, build me a go-to-market strategy for bigspring.ai. I could do that. And it would generate some high surface level things. But in this scenario, what I did was I basically said, hey, I'm the CRO. So who am I? Who is my company? It's bigspring.ai. Here's our product. And the reason I'm incorporating the website is so here in a minute, when I show you 4, it'll actually go to the website and it will review all the information that it can find about my product. So it makes it more personalized, where 3.5 will also do that. But it's on, it basically, if you've updated your website or anything like that, I think 3.5 is trained through April of 2023. So anything that's, happened post that, which still may be relevant now, maybe nothing's happened post that, but that's kind of the difference. Like, it's more real time versus something that it's, the date that the model was last trained on. Here is what we solve. So here are the things that the product actually solves. So giving that information. So in your world, whatever product it is, or maybe you have a business and you offer services, whatever that is, but ultimately, what is it that the problems that you're trying to solve? Here's who we target. So these are the industries. So I just incorporated a couple of industries that we actually, that our product actually serves. Here are the buyer personas. Here are the people that I typically talk to, right? That I want to engage with. And in this scenario, I said, we think Europe is a great place for us to launch our product and need help prioritizing the top 3 countries that we could launch in. Based on my product, the pain it solves, industries, personas that we target, and the size of the TAM, where should we launch and why? So in this scenario, it's like, hey, I want to figure out if I'm launching in Europe, and again, you can use this for a city and a state. You can use this for, a market. You can use this for whatever. So in this scenario, I'll use Europe. And then I asked it to please share the logic that you used in choosing. So it'll tell me, right, it's giving me the info of like, why did it choose this logic? Otherwise, you're just blind. It's going to pick a logic, but you don't necessarily know why it chose it. So having something like this to share with you so you can really understand what went into the details. And so basically what it did was it told, the outcome of this was it told me, hey, here, step 1, I'm going to identify key factors for the target industries, the buyer personas, and the TAM sizes, kind of just re-emphasizing what I said in the prompt. I'm going to evaluate European countries. So what I'm going to evaluate is presence of the target industries that I'm focused on. So what is the presence of those specific ones in the market? How many roles is the buyer persona? So is there a lot of the buyer personas in these markets or countries that I'm looking after? What is the TAM size? What's the competitive landscape, regulatory environment, and economic stability? So it's giving you kind of a lot of the different details. And again, what you can also do then, and let's say that when you're evaluating these countries, it's missing a factor here, or you want to add something, you can just go back up to the prompt and you can like edit it and basically put that in there and then redo it, and then it'll add it into there. So let's say it's like, hey, I want to know technology spend, for example. I guess that kind of would be in TAM size, but let's say, hey, I want to know current technology spend. You could go back up here and edit and put, include technology spend. And then now all of a sudden it'll include that. So this kind of gives you that iterative factor. And I think that's the key, is always, seeing and looking at the prompts. It's going to rank and prioritize, and then it's going to tell me the top things to consider. And then basically here are the key considerations that you should choose in order: market readiness, resource allocation, regulatory compliance, local partnerships, customer support, pricing strategy, et cetera, et cetera. So based upon the prompt that I gave it, it's giving me all this information. And again, that's the key of the prompt, because if I just would have put build me a go-to-market strategy or which country should I launch, it would just answer the question just the way that I'm asking it. So then it goes into a lot of the different information. So it'll break down industries. Here's the presence. Here's the top 3 countries where the target industries are good. Here's where the top 3 countries where the buyer persona is there. Here are the top 3 TAM size countries. Here's the competitive landscape of kind of looking at that. So it's giving you some basic information of each of these. And then ultimately, it gave me, based on the analysis above, here are the top 3 countries. So it'd be Germany, UK, Switzerland, and it kind of gives me some information about why it chose those countries. So I'll stop there. I'm going to show some more details on this, but I'll stop there and just see if that made sense or if that raised any questions before I continue on. But that's kind of just a general, like, if I'm launching a market, if I'm launching a country and I want to really understand the priorities and why, I can prompt it and it can really give me that information within a couple minutes.
So Jonathan, this is fantastic. I have a little nit of a question, because I, using ChatGPT, have not gone back to the original prompt and edit it. I further along iterate the long thread, and then I realize at some point chat's getting confused to the original intent. So is that actually what is happening, and I should just go back and
is
Like edit the first one.
Yeah, or the first one or one in the middle. So like, let's say that you're good here. So let's say that this makes sense, but for whatever reason, and I'm giving a basic prompt here. It's not a real build out a go-to-market strategy for launching these countries. Let's say that I don't want to mess with this one above, but I want to, everything below this, I can just edit this one and everything above it will stay the same. Everything below will change. But yeah, wherever it started messing up or wherever you're like, hey, I want to add this to my prompt because I'm not really getting the output in enough detail that I want, just go back and edit it and save and submit it. And then it will redo everything below it.
Okay, that's gold.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then
Yeah.
we have a couple of questions. So Stephanie's
Yeah,
just
sure.
curious if you'll provide any prompt frameworks to us, or do you have any that you would
Sure.
recommend?
Yeah. I can provide some prompt frameworks, and also I can provide some of these prompts. So I have I'll tell you what I do. So there's a framework you can follow, but I also take you can go out there and see people that are sharing their prompts and things like that. And to be honest, I also aggregate that. I have a whole Notion page of just prompts, and I have them separated by like strategy, marketing, sales, customer success, rev ops, just in general, like coaching or candid conversations and things like that, where either I've developed them or I've pulled them in from other people that are sharing them, and can build on those, et cetera. And so I would just say, like, yes, I can definitely after the call share a framework. I can also share a framework for custom instructions. So custom instructions, I don't have anything specific in my conversation today about custom instructions, but they are pretty like, here are my custom instructions, and I'm happy to share these. But they're ultimately really good to ensure that if you want ChatGPT to answer a certain way, or you want it to, do certain things, you set up custom instructions. What I've actually done is built a GPT, which I'm actually going to show you, which is going to take what I just shared with you and put it on like steroids from a GTM perspective. But ultimately I'm kind of building up to that. So that's how I use custom instructions now, is I just make different GPTs that have the instructions. Therefore, I can just use them versus trying to change custom instructions and use the chat. So I'm happy to show you that as well.
That's great. Jason posted a question. He found that ChatGPT often makes assumptions and fails to deliver accurate and complete information without multiple prompts, kind of like a teenager, which I have 3 of them. So yes. How do you address this?
Yeah, custom instructions. So like, I will share, I'm happy to share mine with you, but they're very, very specific. In fact, like I tell it that I want it to act like a business executive and strategy consultant. I wanted to make sure that it's detailed and well-formulated, extensive output that explains everything with first principle reasoning. I want well-formatted outputs with bullet points, pros and cons of system thinking, concise, formulated way. I have all kinds of, you carefully provide actual factual thoughts. I also have it, and let me show you this. I also have it when you have 4 enabled. So you have web version and the custom instructions. In my custom instructions, I also have it give me the source. So like that way I can actually check the response and make sure that I actually like their source and the source is reputable. And this helps me, especially in some of these things. Like, so this is the same prompt as the one before. It gave me some additional details because it now has internet access and it can look at my website from the product perspective. But what it does is like, so here's an example. Like the UK is projected to have the highest IT spend growth in Western Europe at 5.2%. So that gives me an insight of growth of technology spend. And then I can say, oh, okay, what's the source? Well, it's a Gartner forecast. So that's pretty reputable. I'm good with that. I can click on it and it actually opens up so I can see when it was done, et cetera, and if I actually like this source. If I don't like the source, what I can actually do is ask it to, I can respond and say, hey, can you provide me the same, I can just like copy and paste this and say, can you provide me the same response, but use a different source? And maybe I can say, I want it to use BCG or McKinsey versus Gartner or whatever, or I can just be in general. And so then it will redo the information and it will provide a different source. So I think those are some tricks to make sure that it doesn't. One is the custom instructions, and 2 is, custom instructions for sure, but ultimately making sure that it showcases the source and you can validate the source too. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, Jonathan. Thank you, because you have to validate the sources, because even I've had it where it is sourced and it has completely given me something that is it is completely made up. It's like I'm not kidding when I say it's like a teenager. Like
Oh yeah. It still does some things
against the wall.
Like, yeah. It still does some things for me too. So I'm gonna be, I'll be honest, like it's not perfect, right? And I still catch things as well. And I think that's the important thing of, there was a quote that was like, AI is not going to take your job, but someone using AI is. And there's always this powerful of like, it's about you using it, not necessarily it doing all the work. And I think that's where a lot of people sometimes mess up, especially with the spam cannons, if you will, of just like going out and having AI send random like email messages. But like you need to validate it, and it can get you potentially 80-90% there, but everything you need to look at, check the sources, make sure it's what you want. There's still that portion of it that you can't like not do. So for sure. And the good thing is, look, today is the worst day that this AI will ever be. It's only going to continue to get better. And I think that's the key, but yeah, valid point. You have to continue to do that. So
just one comment. I mean, there is no one AI, the model which is good right now.
Yeah.
Like Jonathan, you mentioned Bard example. I've seen Bard making mistakes too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I've used the Cloud from Anthropic, right? So that's that also for so the certain use cases, like very contextual information. If you have, like Cloud is good at providing a lot of contextual information and gives you the answer that way. But ChatGPT, as Jonathan is talking about, is good in many ways. One comment on the source. I get the response including the source, and I don't have to prompt it though. So not sure that is just a ChatGPT 4 update that they have. So you don't really have to specifically prompt it to give me the source. It will give you the source that this is where I picked it up from. If it's a real time fact or something, like if you're asking for some facts, it will give you that, hey, this is where I picked it up from. So that it all depends on what kind of use case you're kind of working with.
You got it. Absolutely.
And the good thing is that the custom GPT is only with the paid version, not with the free version. So for those who have the free version, it will not work.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is good context. So I will, let's see, I'm going to move just real quick, because it seems like we do have some folks that are using it, et cetera. But I want to show you a way that you can, I don't know, has anyone built, I'm just curious, has anyone built a GPT yet? Has anyone done that?
Yeah.
You have, Sandeep? Okay. Cool. So let me go through. So what I did was I took, so there's an element of it, and one of the things I was frustrated with by using it, right, is that I had to keep these log of prompts. I had to, think about them. I had to do all this stuff, right? Because again, as I mentioned, it was all about the prompts. So then ultimately, once GPT came out, I started experimenting with, how could I build one that actually had all of these information and things that I wanted built in, so I didn't have to prompt. It'd be very simple and very easy to use. So what I did was I created this GPT that I called GTM Wiz, and with simple prompts. So in the background, what it is, and I will, in the background, what it is, I've trained it on things like things from like Winning by Design, things that I've experienced and took notes on, things like if you're a go-to-market fan of like The Science of Scaling by Mark Roberge, like things like that. So I've trained it on a bunch of different things that are out there, right? And kind of decided what frameworks and things that I wanted to use. And therefore I can basically simple prompt it, and it will give me like really good insights that I can double click on, et cetera. And so, for example, it starts out by just saying like, build my go-to-market strategy. What it's also doing is going to follow a sequence of steps to help really build that out. So the first thing it does is it starts with the product description. So what is it that, what is your product? And it can be something that actually exists or something that you're just dreaming up. And so for this, all I did was respond with our website. Then what it will do is it'll break down what is the product description, what's the core features, the benefits, the USPs. Then the next thing it's going to do is going to build an ideal customer profile based upon the product description. Basically what I've done is I've created to say, hey, you can either, as the person who's using it, you can either provide details that you want it to leverage, and I provide that here in just a minute, or you can just have it do a general approach based upon the product description. So you kind of are in control of, if I have information, I can share it via website, document, etc. Or if I don't, I can just say, hey, take a general approach because maybe I don't know and I want some recommendations. And so here I just said, like, please use the details above about the product and website to build the ICP. What it did was it built out the ICP for me, everything from the firmographics, the psychographics, the behavioral attributes, the technographics, et cetera. And then next it's gonna say, you know, hey, like, do you want to do anything else? You're gonna move to the next section. The next section is buyer personas. So basically I gave it 4 buyer personas that are unique to me. Again, you can say, I don't know, tell me which ones you think are most relevant. But I gave it these 4. And then it'll basically break those same ICPs down by each of the personas that I gave it. So it's giving me all the information that I need, that I can look at and understand. Then next it'll move to brand messaging. And so what I've done is I've asked it to deploy the UVP, the story brand, and Simon Sinek start with why concept, just as examples. You can use, and this is important because, like, this is where, like, if you use a framework, you can add it to the GPT, say, hey, I want you to use this framework in this section, and it'll always use that framework. Or I want you, here are a couple common ones that I like, use those, and it will always do that. Therefore, you don't have to worry about the prompt, the custom instructions, or any of those things. So all I prompted it to do is say, hey, please create based on product and personas. That's it. That's my prompt. And so then basically what it did was it broke down my UVP for me, my unique value proposition, the what, how, and who. It broke down the story brand framework. So breaking down character, problem, guide, plan, call to action, success, failure. It even gave me some messaging. If I want to use Simon Sinek start with why, how I would portray that. Then next it goes into sales messaging, and I can keep going, but ultimately what it does is it goes into sales messaging. And then it gives me the spiced framework for messaging each one of my personas, like what's important to them, what pain are they experiencing, et cetera. I've got it, then it'll go do a competitive analysis for me. So I can either say, research my competition and who exists, or I can give it competition, which I did here, and it'll break down a competitive analysis between our product and theirs. Then it goes into pricing strategy. So it'll give me different advice and recommendations on pricing strategies, subscription, per user, value-based. Goes into go-to-market motions. So what are the go-to-market motions that I actually should consider and why? What's the recommendation? What are the pros and the cons? Brand marketing strategy. So content marketing, social media, et cetera. So story of this is like it goes all the way through a sequence of building out demand gen to my sales process, to my customer retention and customer success strategy, to challenges and risks. So it'll go through all of this and build it out for you. And at any given point, if you don't like the response, or if you want to discuss that section before you move to the next one, you can do that directly in here, or you can skip sections. And so basically what my goal is to help someone or help anyone be able to build a strategy from end to end, because it's one of the most difficult things to do. And a lot of people miss these things, when they're thinking about of the go-to-market strategy. And candidly, this helped validate and help change some of the things even we were doing with some of our go-to-market strategies of like, okay, I'm gonna think about this and let me dive in a little bit deeper. And so I did want to share that, like you can start out with something super basic or basic in the sense of like the go-to-market strategy, or just building out an ICP or buyer persona, which I did here by itself. Or you can get more detailed in something like a GPT that you can ask it and tell it what steps you want it to take from a go-to-market strategy, or again, whatever use case you have. So before I'm looking at time, yes, I'm okay on time. So before I move to the next thing I wanted to show you all, which is going to move to the data analyst, wanted to get any thoughts or questions or feedback here on this as well, if this made sense. So I'm looking at the chat.
So Corey has a question on,
Yeah.
can you get it to give sources for tables, for the tables, like the competitive analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely ask it for sources. Actually, that's a good ad that I'll probably go add in there is provide sources. So that's actually good. So yes, but yes, you can have it provide the sources that it used in order to do the competitive analysis for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Are there any other questions, or you may move on to data analysts? Hopefully this was valuable. You can see all the different, some different aspects of any portion of the go-to-market strategy is really what I wanted to accomplish in that.
I think this is awesome. I'm sure there are 1,000 questions. My brain is like right now. So
Yeah.
I'm digesting it all.
I understand completely. Trust me. Okay. So let me go back here for a second. So the next one I'm going to show you is just a couple of examples. I'm going to show you 2 examples of using it as a data analyst. The first one that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you kind of going through in this particular example. I uploaded a company data set. The data set is basically like a pipeline information. It's like customer, region, what lead source channel did they come from, what's their ACV, like things like that, things you would just find in a general pipeline. But you can upload any data that you want to. Recommendation for you, if you don't have, if you're not working for a company that can do this, but you still want to try to get some insights, again, this is just an opinion, do what you want. But what you can do is you can randomize the information. Like you can, instead of having the company, you can have company A, and then you can just have a legend somewhere else on your side, right? So because ultimately it's just it could just be random data, but you take out all the information that's specific and unique. And just have a legend outside of it, and you can still get the same analysis. So again, ask someone before you do that, but yeah, that's a way to kind of get around it. So you're not putting proprietary information or company information out there. Okay, so I uploaded this data set, and again, happy to share this data set because it's just in fact, funny enough, I actually had ChatGPT create the data set for me. So I asked it to create an Excel file of a pipeline information, and I told it what I wanted it to include, and it actually created this for me, and that's actually what I used here. So, so another super interesting tip if you wanted to build like a framework of a spreadsheet or something like that for you. So what I did was I asked it to analyze the data set and summarize top 3 positive performance trends and 3 challenges, and provide insights and charts to support each that show trends for quarter over quarter and year over year. The great thing about ChatGPT is that it will want to clean your data first. So going back to the data, it will actually look at the data and it will give you, it'll tell you, hey, here's the data structure. So you can see what columns I already have in this data. And then it will want to try to clean it. The interesting thing here was it came back and said, hey, there's missing values on your opportunity, your launch date, some of your ARRs. And it gave me a recommendation on how it wanted to handle it. The reason I said no was because, and this is kind of an interesting quirk, the reason I said no was because that customer didn't actually start until later on. And so obviously they wouldn't have had ARR or things like that in 2021. And so I basically told it no because I'd already looked at it and cleaned it myself. But ultimately, it will do some analysis and make some recommendations on how it can clean your data or some missing fields and things like that, which is super interesting for you to do. So then what it did was it looked at did some data analysis and insight. So basically, it broke down ARR and number of seats. So here's my quarterly trends of ARR by quarter. And by the way, these charts and things are not great. So I'm sure they'll get better visually, but the visual charts are not great, but they're still good comparatively to doing it yourself. And then here's my quarterly trends for number of seats. And then it gave me insight. So here's your top 3 positive trends: AR growth in Q2, AR recovery in Q4, number of seats in Q3. And here's my challenges: my AR declined this quarter to this quarter, number of seats stagnation, and then AR decline. So it gave me that insight. So once there, I wanted to understand a little bit more about where my leads were coming from and where my opportunities were coming from. So I basically asked it to provide 2 stacked bar charts by quarter one for lead creation by channel and one opportunity creation by channel. So I understood like where are my leads coming from, where are my opportunities. So it did that. So it gave me this nice bar chart here by quarter. You probably can't see this, it's probably kind of small. But on the right side, here's a legend that's basically each one of these colors is a channel. So blog, customer referral, direct web, etc. So it's giving you the channel that it's coming from. So you can really kind of see your, not only your trends of total, but kind of how each of the channels are performing. And then it gives you, again, key insights. So lead creation by channel, what are the insights from strong performance and seasonal trends, to also opportunity creation. So it may look different where the majority of your leads are coming in. They may not be converting to opportunities. And so you can kind of see the two together of actually where are my opportunities creating versus where my leads. So it'll give you that type of information. The next thing I did is I said, hey, I want to provide insights and support charts to show sales cycle time and ACV by segment, channel, and region. So now that I got like my trends, I looked at the different channels. I said, okay, now I want to go one step further and really look at cycle time, ACV by segment, channel, and region. So it created a sales cycle time analysis here. So this left chart here is the time by segment, which is SMB, mid-market, enterprise. The middle is sales cycle time by channel. So whether it's social, web ads, et cetera, my channels. And then here's my average sales cycle time by region. So it broke this down for me, and then it gave me insights. So kind of same as above. Then it did an initial ACV analysis. Same concept here, gave it by segment, by region, by channel. And then it also, then I also prompted it, sorry, after that, then I wanted to go one step further and say, now I want to understand by AE, how are they performing? And so then what it did was it broke down my AE performance here and kind of showed me the different AEs, how many opportunities they created, opportunities closed, their ACV, and their average sales cycle time. So this probably took me less than 15 minutes to just ask it some general questions, and I was able to like really get all this information. Then you can do the inverse. So let's say you have charts, and then I'll stop and answer any questions. So let's say someone's provided you a deck or images. You can actually share the images to ChatGPT using the vision now and prompt it and say, like all I did was say, hey, from these images above, please provide detailed insights about the pipeline, include pipeline movement, deals slipping, why deals closed lost, stage deals fell out, what's preventing moving from S1 to S2. And it looked at the screenshots and then analyzed everything for me and said, here's your pipeline movement, starting, ending, net change, decrease, increase, closed won, deal slipping, gave me that information, closed lost, what are the loss reasons and how much information or how much data is in them. Stage deals fell out. Here's how many converted and how many were lost by stage. And here's some information about what's preventing S1 to S2 conversions, timing, budget, et cetera. And I even asked it, I believe I asked it up here. No, I asked it, oh no, I didn't ask it. Oh, cool. So it even gave me recommendations to improve pipeline. So here's some things that you can do based upon that information to think about to really kind of improve your pipeline. And that was just basically from, this was a deck that I think this deck was like on Clary's website or something like that. So all I did was like copy a deck, throw some images in there and ask it, prompted it to give me the information. So you can do, if you got spreadsheets and data, boom, you can do that. Or if you've got just images, you can also do the same thing. So let me stop there. And that's kind of how you can have some ways of thinking about how to use it as a data analyst for you.
There's got to be questions because I'll jump back.
Yeah, I was gonna say either I've lost everyone or everyone's like, I don't know.
The visuals are such a game changer, aren't they, Jonathan? Like
yes.
Just providing that context. I mean, how many of us have had these of dealing with like sales management that just does, like you give them the visuals and like they just don't know what it means,
Well, they don't have the talking points to present it, or they've built their own deck that they're attempting to present, and they're still not able to articulate the findings within the deck and what their plan is to make revisions and course correct.
Yeah, 100%, Steph.
Now, Jonathan, a simple question for you. Maybe it's simple, but I'm learning here. When
No,
you are getting the output under this Chat GPT 4, is it also pulling in the frameworks that you used in your GTM Wiz? Like, or are these kind of segmented views?
Great question. So the one I'm showing you now is a segmented view because I'm not using the GPT. I'm just using Chat GPT 4. But to your point, what I could do, and I can do inside of, if I'm using the GPT, I could do the same thing and it would use the frameworks and stuff for me because I've already got it. I've already got those frameworks and things designed and put into the custom or to the GPT training. So yeah, so it just depends on like, so if I'm just using GPT, it's just going to give me generic what it wants to, unless I tell it to give me something specific. If I'm using a GPT that I've already got a framework in there, then it will use that. That's a great question.
It's basically, I mean, Susan, I mean, if you're starting a new chat, then it basically starts with blank surface sort of thing. If you have used some inputs before, you have conversed with it before, it keeps all that thing in the model. So keeps all your background information there. So it all depends on, I mean, are you starting fresh or are you kind of continuing from your previous conversation?
Yeah, and so there's kind of to that point, there's kind of two things you can do. So if you don't use GPT, like you don't build one or whatever, you can use custom instructions. The problem with this is you can only use one at a time. And so you have to change it for each, if you want it to change, you have to change it for each chat, or I can turn it off. And as Sandeep was saying, like if I don't have custom instructions on and I start a new chat, it just is a blank slate. It just does whatever chat, whatever it wants to do. So I leave my custom instructions on typically just because it's kind of how I want it to respond to me for all my chats. But there are some things I need to turn it off because it doesn't make sense to be this persona and give me this output for certain things. So like if I want to do, or I can just tell it what I have done, by the way, I leave the custom instructions on. Another tool or tip is if you do have custom instructions and you don't want it to use the custom instructions in the new chat, you can just tell it that you don't want it to use them and you can act like whomever. So I can act like a brand marketing specialist that can do these things, and that's what it will act like. The output will still give you in certain things. So like I've asked it to give me an output in like bullet points, pros and cons, very direct, things like that. And so that some of that stuff will stay, but the persona and some of the other things more. So you can prompt it not to do it, but it's just like little tips and tricks like that you can you got to kind of figure out. But again, happy to help and answer questions to make this look. And Sandeep, looks like you're using it a lot too, which is phenomenal. So
yeah.
And Jason,
it's
too.
good to see. I mean, good to learn from each other here. I mean, the visuals. Basically, I'm hoping that they can come up with a more appealing visuals. Right now, it's like when you stick it up on a deck, it's an eyesore. With the black, white background and something like that comes out.
Yeah,
on the deck.
It's really bad. Like I would never use these in the deck.
Yeah.
So you kind of still have to build it if you're going to actually present it. But at least you've got you can get the insights and the things that you need. Or if you're not presenting it, you can use these for what you need. Now in
fact, for the charts, I mean, the Google Slides and Microsoft Excel, they have also their own version of intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence, AI. So actually, right now, I'm still using for charts. I'm using that not directly GPT-based slides because that is still well formatted there, relatively speaking. So that's my tip.
No, it's a good one because if you saw at Ignite, Microsoft launched their Copilot, which is now available in 365. So anything you're doing in like PowerPoint and things like that. And then to your point, Sandeep, as well, like are you using, sorry, I don't want to get off topic, but you can either use a plugin to one of those, right? That's been created, or now that, I'll be interested to see now that they've launched, Google just launched Gemini, now that they'll start infusing it inside of Google products as well, like Docs and other things. There's been some light stuff in there for some of that stuff, but it'll get more robust, kind of like ChatGPT. So it's going to be interesting. The good news is that no matter which one you're using, the frameworks and things are the same. You still need to prompt it. You still need to do those things. So like a lot of the things that that I've experienced or learned on ChatGPT will, will correlate to, Microsoft's Copilot or Bard or Gemini or whatever. So
it's the analysis that helps a lot here. Like it just lays out everything for you.
Everything.
Now, you in the beginning of the call, you mentioned whether, it will take away the job or not. Clearly not, because the hallucination is real sometimes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
it will not give you the right information. So you still need a person to validate the data that it is throwing up to you. So it will give you all the structured framework, nice way of analysis, but you just have to make sure that everything is right before you present to your leaders or execs.
100%. So check this out. This one actually did, by the way. So check this out. It says opportunity creation and closer. Jason leads in closing opportunities. Actually, no, Kelly leads in closing opportunities. So like, so there are little nuances and things. And so one of the things that I added to the custom instructions after I did this was to run the analysis 2 or 3 times and double check that it all matches it if it runs it 2 or 3 times. That way you can, you can validate, but sometimes I still find an issue every now and then. And so to your point, you still have to go through it. In fact, I said, Jason isn't leading in closing opportunities. And it was like, you're correct. I apologize. So there, again, there's still some bugs, still some things like that. So again, it's very important to just like spot check it and make sure if you're going to use it anywhere that make sure that it makes sense. So like I said, what I say at the beginning can get you like 80 or 90% there, but you still need to validate and do some things all the time. So.
Some very basic stuff. Sometimes even I've seen like, give me 10 things and it will give me 9 things. And I'm saying like, this is not 10, this is only 9. Oh, so they will respond back, oh, sorry.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
not 10.
Absolutely. Cool. So I only have one more thing to show you. I actually have this in a video because it was easier to do in a video, and I've got this live on my website and stuff like that. But so I think this is really interesting, and it's kind of funny because this is something that that we were working on and been working on at Big Spring as well, because part of our platform is like practicing and getting better and things like that. So I'm going to play this video. Let me know if you hear it. And what this is going to do is it's going to show you an actual live role play that I did as an SDR with a persona, and it's going to talk back to me through the whole process. So it's about, I think, 5 minutes or so. But let me play it and just make sure the volume works.
Yeah, Jonathan, can you put it into presentation mode?
Yeah, give me one
it? Yeah.
sec. Actually, I think I can blow it up, I believe. Let me do this. Can you also see it?
Everyone, so I want to be able to show you this cool feature that ChatGPT released,
hear
where you can actually
Yes.
interact with it via voice. So what I'm going to do in this scenario is actually a live role play scenario where I'm going to be an SDR and I'm going to be calling a VP of sales. So you can see I've got my prompt lined up here, which I'll share. And ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this blue headphone button in the bottom right. And then it's going to ask me to go ahead and start the call. So let's check it out. Hi, this is Jonathan from BigSpring.ai. We provide an AI-driven platform that can help you increase your partner-sourced revenue. I was wondering if you had a few minutes to discuss how we can tailor our solution to meet your team's specific needs.
Partner source revenue, you say? We already have a stack for that. Why should I consider your solution? What sets it apart?
We leverage AI to understand the individual's skill and personalize recommendations to help them upskill. That way they always stay ready at the speed of innovation. We can also plug into your existing CRM or PRM to measure the outcomes and provide proactive recommendations based upon their performance. This allows them to continue to level up their game all the time.
Interesting. But AI is a buzzword these days. Everyone claims to use AI. How does your AI actually provide value, specifically in terms of increasing revenue?
So I'm going to stop it there, and then I'm going to kind of go towards the end, but you can kind of get the gist. Like it actually goes through it, and then finally, after about 5 or 6 objections, I get to.
All right, let's do Friday morning. Works for me.
I get to a point where it's going to set up a demo, and then it'll give me feedback. It'll actually coach me.
I'll send over a calendar invite shortly. Looking forward to diving deeper into what BigSpring.ai can do for us. Is there anything else you need from me before the demo?
I don't, unless you want us to customize specific use cases or objectives that you have. We'll be happy to do that. Just let me know.
All right, let's keep it general for now. If I see potential, we can talk about customization later. I'll see you on Thursday.
Sounds great. See you then.
See you then. Goodbye. Role playing has ended. Overall, good job in managing the conversation flow and providing valuable information. You were able to build trust by citing existing customers like Google Cloud and Cisco. Your objection handling was solid, especially when you addressed my concern about time investment and hidden fees. Areas for improvement. When mentioning how AI drives value, you could give more concrete numbers or case studies. Always reconfirm the details of the meeting at the end to make sure everything is clear. Would you like to run a different version of this call, or would you like to try a new scenario with different variables?
So that's just a version, like, again, of me. I just set it up to basically do like a role play. So now my BDR team and SDR team can actually use this with the personas and go and do practices and things like that. Just like they were live, and it goes back and forth. It's actually pretty good. I actually surprised. Now the voice needs work, just like the visuals need work. The voices that options that they have on here are not great. But it actually works pretty good. So I haven't tested it with anything outside of like SDR or AEs and like customer success, having customer conversations, stuff like that. But I imagine as long as you prompt it and give it the right prompts and stuff, you can actually have any sort of conversation with anybody that you want. So it's super, super interesting. So I wanted to share that. And really that's I'm happy to answer questions or dive into, anything else if there's anything else you're interested in. But those are really the three that I wanted to share with you all today about how I'm using it in different ways. So hopefully that was good for y'all.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Jonathan. Thank you.
Yeah.
That last bit that you showed us, did I miss what tech is that?
What tech is what? What I just showed you?
Yeah.
That's just ChatGPT on your phone. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just the ChatGPT mobile app. So they haven't added, I haven't seen at least when or if they're going to add it to the web version, but in the app itself, actually, here, let me show you. I'll pull it up, but yeah, that's just the mobile app of ChatGPT. So that's all that is. Cool. What other questions? Anything else I can answer, show?
So I have a quick question. So how are you thinking about privacy as we are thinking about incorporating client data and such specifically with OpenAI and models? Can you talk about that with the group?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way we're doing it overall, so I'll tell you from if you're thinking about from company standpoint. So the good news is ChatGPT has the enterprise AI or the enterprise API version that you can leverage that has a lot of governance and controls and things in there. However, there are some private LLMs that you can use as well. And so the way we think about it is, and the way we're building our product is we have our own internal LLM for specific things that are unique to us. And then we're adding on top a couple of enterprise grade LLMs that are more secure, through Google Cloud, AWS, IBM, so things of that nature. And then we're also then enriching that again with more of the OpenAI capability. So it's kind of like this stack of blocks of different types of, depending upon what the customer wants and is comfortable with, because, even though OpenAI has some security, people are not, I guess, because it's commercialized, right? And there's some things that they don't want it to go in there. It's like a big word that I'm scared of it, which is totally valid. And so that's kind of how we've approached it. So we have a couple different models that run and stack depending upon what we're trying to do and what the customer's comfortable with. And then obviously we have that in our own architecture, right? So it's also walled off from going outside. So. Yeah, so it's super complex. It's super interesting, but it's not easy. It's definitely not easy and easy to accomplish, but it's very important, especially when you're dealing with any customer, but especially a lot of the enterprise customers too. So, but that's a great question, and it's got to stay top of mind for everybody for sure. I don't know if y'all seen. I don't know if you've seen the Samsung thing when it happened. I don't know if y'all caught that or not, but on the early versions of ChatGPT, Samsung employees were using it and actually put out some IP documents. And this is why I say, like, you know, if you're on the commercial version, not the enterprise, like, you've got to make sure that you don't do that, because then what happened was, I think somebody somehow was able to get it or something like that, or maybe they just found out, but somehow it was able to be found out. So yeah, so it's definitely important to know, like, if you're using it for your own use, or even you're using it for your company, to make sure that there's nothing in there that, you know, can be that you care to share, like, publicly in an email or on a conference call or whatever. But then to make sure that you're built, you know, I don't think there's any technical people around it. Make sure that you have, you know, that someone internally is building your stack that way, as far as, like, thinking about the different LLMs and how to do it. So,
and I think it's safe to assume
what's
that
up, Steven?
it would be crazy if OpenAI would not use those conversations to further train the model.
Yeah.
So if everything you tell them is used for the AI to learn. So if you share passwords, it's gonna learn the passwords over time.
Yep. And that, yeah, exactly.
The good thing is it messes stuff up, so probably it's gonna mess up your password.
Well, exactly. Yeah. If it can't even count which one had the most opportunities, then yeah, maybe you'll randomize your password too. So awesome. Well, what other, anything else that I can?
I don't have a question, but I'm super. I've been in AI for 8 years or so.
Yep.
I recently got out 2 years ago when everybody else got in. But I'm deeply impressed. I'm deeply impressed by what you're doing. This is amazing stuff.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
I echo that, Jonathan. This has been phenomenal.
Thank you. Well, thanks for the invite. I'm glad. I'm glad that you all got a lot of value out of it. That was my hope. So yeah, because to your point, like, I'm seeing it a lot too. People are talking about it. People have thought leadership around it. People have philosophies around it. But, like, let's get into, like, how can I use it today? And that's you know, that's what I wanted to really focus on. So hopefully you're able to take some nuggets from there. And yeah, you all have my info, so feel free to ping me or ask me questions or anything like that. I'm happy to answer or dive into anything any further if you want. So